Hello and welcome to the Green Collar Careers Podcast. I'm your host, Jose Almanzar. For this episode, I'm speaking with Will Kellermeyer, policy advisor and attorney at the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. Will provides a fresh perspective and outlook on the world of environmental careers. I know you're really going to enjoy this episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. I have with me William Kellermeyer. William is an attorney at the New Jersey DEP. And Will, thank you so much for joining me. How are you today?
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. I'm doing well. I'm excited for Memorial Day weekend, and the weather's beautiful outside. I can't complain.
Where are you right now? I mentioned that you're at the New Jersey DEP, but where are you physically?
I am located in Plainsboro, New Jersey, which full disclosure, knew nothing about 6 months prior to this. And it's beautiful here. We recently joined a local community garden. I'm sorry, it's a commercial farm, but we joined a co-op, so we get fresh vegetables every week, and it's been fantastic.
What's so far? How many weeks have you been engaging in this commercial food bank that you're or your farming bank, whatever it is?
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks. First week we got basil and marigolds, and this past week was strawberries. So it's been great.
I'm sure. So I did one of those before, where it was a co-op where you pay whatever it is, a few $100 a month, and they send you. But I think I ended up doing it was like a discount co-op where we were getting like ugly food. There was like this ugly
Oh,
food movement.
absolutely, sure, yeah.
So I would get these like oddly shaped squashes.
Oh, it's great, yeah, 100%. So I've really enjoyed being in Plainsboro, and it challenges me to eat more veggies, which is always good.
Where were you living before?
I was in Rochester, and I was pretty close to my brother who lives up in Rochester. So I was kind of on the east side of the city.
All right, so let's get into it. So what you were in Rochester and now
Mhm.
you're in New Jersey. Why the move?
I think there's a multitude of reasons, but I had the opportunity to become an attorney at the Department of Environmental Protection for New Jersey. It was an incredibly attractive opportunity. I've always wanted to do public interest law, and I haven't had the opportunity in my career to do so yet. So I couldn't pass it up.
And then prior to DEP, you were practicing in Rochester as an attorney as well, right?
That is correct. I was at Knott Shaw in Rochester, and I was practicing brownfields, land use, as well as various other environmental kind of transactional and litigation matters.
Awesome. So before we get into, kind of what the nitty gritty of what you're doing these days at New Jersey DEP, can you give us a rundown just of what your educational background was like?
100%.
Yeah.
So I have 2 degrees from Bucknell University, which is in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, one in geology and one in environmental science. So it's very much kind of a quantitative science background. And then I went off to law school at the Elizabeth Howe School of Law at Pace University in White Plains, New York. And I picked them because they have a particularly established environmental program. I was fortunate to graduate and achieve the environmental law certificate, and then I moved on to my professional career.
Yeah. So William is being very, very humble, saying that that Pace Law School has an established environmental law program. They're consistently ranked number 1 or 2 in environmental law, and I think the only one that rivals them might be William and Mary, and sometimes Vermont gets in there once in a while. Right, Will?
Yes, I'm very fortunate to have gone there, and I appreciate the plug 100%.
Yeah. No, listen, I did not go to Pace Law School. I was living in Astoria at the time when I had an opportunity when I decided to go to law school. And something about the commute from Astoria to White Plains, either by train or by car, that annoyed the hell out of me.
It's a long commute.
And I ended up going to New York Law School downtown, and love New York Law School, love my experience there. But I think a lot of people feel like I went to Pace because I'm connected with so many Pace alum on LinkedIn, and I've done speaking engagements at Pace. Anyway, so I'm a big fan of Pace, and the Pace alumni are generally make nice attorneys.
I mean, most of the, thank you for saying that. I think most of the alumni I genuinely just a joy to interact with, and it's always exciting talking to fellow alums to kind of see how they navigated their path to practice.
I didn't. You and I had mentioned that I hadn't discussed this, but I was in discussions this past spring actually with some of the academic chairs there. They wanted me to teach.
You should.
They
You
wanted
should
me to.
absolutely teach.
They wanted me to teach. Listen, man. They wanted me to teach a hazardous waste course.
Oh, that'd be great.
And I was going. They wanted me to overlay environmental justice into it,
Perfect.
and I totally would have done it, except for the fact that I would have had to gone up to White Plains a bunch of times and then held office hours. And this was at the time when I was still transitioning from my old firm to the firm where I'm going to be soon, and I couldn't commit to, to all this additional, like, basically unpaid work, because I don't know if you know that adjunct professors get paid at Pace, but
I don't.
it's not a lot of money.
Okay. Well, I think I think I would certainly would take your course if I was a student. I think you have a lot of value to add there. So don't give up on that.
You know what?
Keep that as a good idea.
I'll do a LinkedIn course, and you can jump on whenever you can.
Excellent.
So tell me. So you were at Knopfshaw, and you were doing mostly brownfield work. Were you doing any litigation or any kind of dispute based matters?
It was a good mix, I think, of both litigation and transactional work. On the transactional side of things, brownfields was certainly first and foremost. But then I was able to do litigation with regards to solid waste matters, and that was excellent. I was on both sides of, I would say, the solid waste kind of realm, and I think it gave me a good knowledge and working knowledge of kind of what's going on with waste management in the state of New York, and also I got to do a whole trial, which was an excellent learning experience, and I'm very grateful to Knopfshaw for allowing me to join in on that one.
Was the firm on the plaintiff or defense side?
Plaintiff side.
All right, and can you give us a flavor of that case?
Absolutely. So it was kind of with regards to a proposed landfill expansion for construction demolition debris out in Chautauqua County. And it was kind of going against a municipal ordinance and challenging that in court.
Yeah. Was it a constitutional claims in federal court or state court or
State
different state court? Those are, yeah.
It was amazing. It was such a fantastic experience going out and actually, going into the courtroom, getting to question witnesses and experts. And then also, I love to tell this story. We were in court one day. This is, I think, either halfway through the first week of trial. And the old courthouse, to kind of paint the picture for the listeners, it's very the old architecture style. If you think kind of a grandiose church or something akin to that, where you have large windows and drapes and kind of old style wood. So we're in there and we're going through questioning a witness, and all of a sudden the lights go out. And just the entire courtroom goes dark, and they pull apart these drapes to let light in through the windows. And I was thinking, here, perfect time for a brief recess. Maybe the judge will give us the opportunity to grab some water, some snacks. Oh no, she said, "Counsel, can you continue?" And we did. So that was it was a great experience. It was very fun.
My goodness, I'm pretty sure I would have handled it well, but that is enough to kind of shake anyone up.
Absolutely. I'm very happy that I had notes both in computer format and hard copy.
Yeah. That reminds me of, I definitely during the bar exam, there were some people that either forgot their laptops or forgot their laptop chargers.
Oh no. Oh no.
I know those poor souls. I had my charger. I actually didn't bring my laptop charger to my very first law school exam. It was civil procedure.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I had to pivot and handwrite, and it was
Goodness.
during the year it was the one course that I struggled the most, because who the heck understands the concepts of civil procedure as a 1L?
As fate would have it, unfortunately.
And I ended up getting like an A+ in that class. I think I might have been I might have been amazing. I might have been like one of two people that hand wrote. And honestly, I think the professor was just so like, either impressed or exhausted reading handwritten notes. That just
Hey,
threw me.
you take it. You take it. Absolutely. That's amazing. I think that trend is continuing. When I was in school,
Yeah,
most people are typing out exams these days.
no, for sure, for sure. And you can get more words per minute,
Hmm.
typing it out. So, Willem, so you it sounded to me like in college you had a leaning towards environmental, kind of just issues as a general topic. Was that something that was always within you, or were you just exposed to something in college that got you interested? What's your story there?
For me, I kind of grew up as an outdoorsy kid. I always enjoyed hiking and kind of being out in the environment, going to different parks and museums, and I think that kind of started the interest in environmental work. And then when I went to Bucknell, the geology department there is absolutely fantastic, and that really fostered my interest in the sciences.
Yeah, and were you in when you were in high school? Did you take any courses that were kind of environmental or earth science
Mhm.
oriented?
I did take AP Environmental Science in high school, and that was a very enjoyable experience.
Yeah. In
Mhm.
law school, did you do internships, legal internships that were focused on environmental flavored, internships, or none of those?
I would say all of my internships were environmental. My 1L year, I was very fortunate to work with a nonprofit advocating for environmentally sound renovations of public housing in New York City at NYCHA Housing.
Hmm.
That was amazing. Got really good hands-on experience and knowing the community and kind of seeing how law interacts in a practical matter. And then my 2L, I was involved with a land use private practice out in Greenwich. And so I got to get the nitty gritty on and land use law. I was, doing title searches, going through and researching nuanced matters with regards to that. And I continued that kind of a little bit after, but I found that going and being a full-time student, part-time, uh, worker was also, it was a lot to handle for sure.
No, no, for sure. So you're at the New Jersey DEP right now,
Correct.
and do you want to just give us a quick overview of the flavor of the types of matters that you're working on there?
Absolutely. I always love talking about my job, and I just have to include a quick disclaimer that any opinions, statements, or impressions I give today are solely mine. They do not reflect an official position or endorsement of the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. I'm excited to be here and talk to you today in my individual personal capacity.
You hear that, everyone? Will is not here representing the DEP. Don't you dare email him and say, "I heard you say this. This means that the DEP feels the same way. I will come after you personally." So,
um,
with that disclaimer, Will,
mhm.
so what are you doing at New Jersey DEP?
So my current role is I'm a regulatory officer within the department, and I provide guidance on various statutes and rules governing the agency.
Mm,
I assist in drafting regulations, any necessary amendments, and I also help research various environmental legal topics as they arise. And I also assist with some interim and final agency decisions.
nice. So your work directly impacts both policies and enforcement, outcomes on behalf of the people of New Jersey, right?
I wouldn't say I'm too involved in the enforcement side of things.
Okay.
Certainly, you could say I'm involved in the policy side of things with regards to drafting and editing regulations for sure that we wanted to promulgate.
When you were in law school, did you ever see yourself, in a place where you're actually drafting, laws and regulations on behalf of a whole freaking state body?
Uh, I mean, I certainly have a huge team around me at the department, and I play a very small role in making in my contributions. I can't say that I draft all of the rules and regulations or anything like that. But I think in law school I would have been just overjoyed to be working on anything related to environmental matters. Um, I wish I could say I had more foresight into where I might end up in my career. But honestly, with the busyness and craziness of law school, it was just kind of make it through. Do the best you can every day.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. And William and I, we're very similar. Most of you know, and at least William does. Like my my story with respect to environmental issues dates back to my high school days. And even before that, I had some experiences as a young kid that I was exposed to contaminated water at a young age. So and the environment has always been kind of part of my story, my journey. So I am, I don't know if I'm not speaking for you, Will, but I'm kind of like a kid at a candy store in this career that we have. I love it. I absolutely love being an environmental lawyer.
I love it
Um,
too, and I think I would echo that. It's the ability to be involved on a community and broader level within the environment is just an amazing opportunity. And there's so many different facets of what we do that I can just nerd out and talk about forever.
so let's get into that for a minute then. Let's start out for just a few minutes. So if you were somebody who's interested in environmental issues, let's say even a younger version of you that is in your late teens and you're interested in environmental issues, maybe you don't want to go to law school just yet, or maybe you do, but what are some areas that you would be thinking about, or at least you would encourage a young person to think about if they're just interested in the environment or helping the planet?
If they're interested in that space, first off, I would tell them listen to your podcast, Green Collar Careers, and I think I would say that and try and find a way to get involved. And what I mean by that is if you're, whether you're a recent graduate or you're looking in maybe environmental consulting or becoming an attorney, I would say try and find a way to shadow or work with that professional. I think that's really going to be a good way to get an honest view into the profession that you're interested in and have an understanding of what your day-to-day could look like. I think there's a lot of potential disconnect when you're before you enter a career and what you envision what it might be and the matters that you're working on, and then the reality of the situation. I think if you get that opportunity to be there and interact with someone who's within that profession, you can really get a grounded understanding of where you're going.
So what are some actionable things that you would do, to follow through on that idea?
Mhm.
Who would you contact? Or let's say that you were interested in a topic that you're pretty well, that you're pretty familiar with, hazardous waste, or
Mhm.
stuff that goes into landfill. Getting in touch with somebody if you knew no one in that field.
That is That's a great question. I think a lot of people find themselves in that position when they're first starting out. I certainly was. I didn't have any attorneys in my family, so saying I want to go to law school and do environmental law was certainly not already baked into kind of my family. So I would say that if you're looking to kind of crack and put your foot in the door, I think connecting with as many professionals. They don't have to be attorneys. You can talk to scientists, educators, activists, political groups. You can talk to law students, anyone that operates within the realm. I think you could email them, call them. Generally speaking, that's a little intimidating, but if you share a mutual interest, it really is a good jumping off point towards making that connection.
Yeah, yeah. I advise people all the time. Not all the time. That's hyperbole, but whenever I'm speaking with someone that's looking to, and by the way, your idea of find someone that's doing what you think you want to do and basically pick their brain about it, is a fantastic idea if you don't know where to start and don't know much about what it is that where you don't even know what you want to do. So you kind of have to be a little shameless. And the worst that happens is that the person who you reach out to ignores you. I don't think people are going to see an email from a college student and write back to that college student or that young professional or that experienced professional and say, you know what, screw this guy, screw this gal. Like, who do they think they are taking up? Like, people aren't like that.
No, and
People,
especially within our profession with what we do, I think that there's so many people within the environmental law space that are so incredibly welcoming and gracious with their time. What we're doing right now is a great example of that. So I think we're in a really good area where you can foster a career with experienced professionals who are willing to, be that contact.
what advice would you give, so find someone who's doing, what you want to do.
Hmm.
um where would you take it from there? Like once you actually have the attention of that person
Hmm.
and they agree, to have a phone call with you or a Zoom meeting, how would you prepare for that meeting?
I think it starts by, anything else is homework, doing background research on that person, understanding that what their role is, what matters they've handled, kind of what their past work history has been, so you have a good idea of who you're talking to, and also kind of their areas of expertise. And then I would, if it's something like I'm talking to an environmental consultant, I might go out and research what's hot in the news. For example, lithium sulfur batteries. This is going to get a little nerdy, but I love it. Lithium sulfur batteries are something that currently being researched as a potential to increase battery capacity and energy storage. And it's much more affordable, and the resources to go into those batteries is a lot more attainable without having some of the negative externalities of precious mineral mining. So I would find something that you enjoy talking about within their space that is tangential to what they do, and then kind of go through a basic introduction. Try and move it from less of a 50 questions conversation into something more where you're just talking about things you're passionate about, because I think that's a really great way to engage with them. Certainly, just discuss their history, how things are going in their lives, but try and weave in these kind of tangential interest points.
So you're taking for granted that people even know what they're passionate about.
It's
And
true.
yeah, and by the way, again, very sound advice. Like make sure that you link up your passions with what that person is doing. But I I had a conversation with someone a few weeks ago. Fantastic young attorney. She's not practicing law. She's doing more nonprofit policy-ish work.
Hmm.
And we had a great discussion. She goes, Jose, I'm trying to I think I want to pivot into the private sector, and you're a private attorney. Can you give me some advice? And I said, all right, well, great. Well, what do you enjoy doing? Like, what do you like to do?
Hmm.
And she told me, well, I'm trying to get into ESG work. I'm like, all right, great. That's a substantive kind of subject. But what do you actually enjoy doing? Like, what are the things? What are the procedural? What are the things that you enjoy doing? And it took me asking her this question about 4 or 5 times because she's still, people haven't done that assessment. People
Hmm.
haven't like really sat down with themselves and figured out, what is it that I enjoy doing? What are the companies, organizations, individuals that I want to be helping or serving? And then, what am I actually interested in? And until you do that work, I think you're just going to be walking around, going from job to job without really any purpose or goals or direction. We're fortunate enough, you and I, William, that I'm assuming that you've done this assessment, or at least it's come to you intuitively.
Hmm.
There's so many people out there that need to. You kind of have to do a little bit of that homework by yourself.
Absolutely. I think that was a little bit of a blind spot for me that you helped let me see, and I think that's it can only be fostered by doing some time and self reflection. I think if you take some time away and just kind of really focus about what brings you joy and happiness and fulfillment, and it might be changing. I'm not saying you have to have a detailed plan for the rest of your life, but certainly some guidelines and some things that you enjoy doing on the day to day that feel you know nourish your passions. I think it's a great point.
I mean, it's such a basic question that's fraught with, again, I'm going to repeat this. People just haven't done the work, and people think listening to podcasts, which I encourage people to do for information, but
Hmm.
people think listening to audiobooks, reading books, exercising, all that stuff is doing the work. No, the work is like sitting down without distractions and actually being aware of like asking yourself these questions and then you answering them, and you have to be like honest. Or if you can't do it yourself, find someone that has worked with you for a while, or a close family member that knows you really well, and take the half hour to actually do it. Like it's not going to come to you while you're listening to, whatever, Taylor Swift, or I don't know what are people listening to these days? I'm so disconnected with music, man.
No, we're not gonna obsess the Swifties. Whatever. Honestly, I think it's a great point. Find some time to have an introspective moment. Ask yourself these questions. The answers may be difficult to reach, but it'll be worth it in the end, because you want to pursue a career and a work on the day and on the day to day that you enjoy doing.
I'm gonna pivot right now. So we discuss about, what some advice and tips that you would give to a recent graduate or someone that's going to be graduating soon.
Hmm.
What about somebody that has been working for a while and is looking to pivot into the environmental careers? Do you have any advice for that person?
I do. I think that if you're an experienced professional, I can understand certainly it could be you feel almost a barrier into practicing in another area. However, I just want to say that no one can be the expert of everything. The world of environmental law is vast, it is broad, it is impossible for someone to be omnipotent in this field. Some people have a well established basis of knowledge in certain areas, but don't feel intimidated that you can't put your foot in the door and kind of establish yourself within the field of environmental law. I think to do so, I would highly recommend getting a base knowledge of administrative law, going back and reviewing case law and key theories of administrative law, and then go ahead and, if you have an idea of the area you want to practice in, find the top performers within that field. Maybe it's some private practice attorneys, maybe it's a policy group or whoever it may be. See if you can find any some talks, discussions, papers, matters they've been involved with. In my experience, when I was getting involved with brownfields for the first time, I went back and I found CLEs from years past, and I would just do homework and take notes, and just listen to a whole bunch of different discussions from people who were in the field that I wanted to get into, and that kind of helped me round up my knowledge. Now, old talks and discussions, they may be a little bit out of date, but it allows you to build a historic wealth of knowledge. You can bring that in with you into the profession.
Yeah, that's really good advice, because if you're coming into something, just on pure interest, that's great, but you then need to play a little bit of catch up.
Exactly.
And employers are willing to extend some of that to entry level hires, but I think for experienced people, there's a lot of transferable skills, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
from prior work that you did into potentially a new role, but you're not going to have a huge runway with respect to catching up substantively.
I agree. And I think there's the expectation, if you are an experienced practitioner, that you're going to hit the ground running and be capable of kind of walking on your own. And,
Yeah.
you know, as unfair as that may be to go to an entirely different area of practice, I think it is there, and you can work on reaching that goal for sure.
Yeah, and it's certainly been done. Somebody contacted me in December, and she's become good. She and I have become good friends. But she said, "Jose, I'm interested in pivoting. I'm a civil litigator, but I'm really interested in environmental law and environmental justice.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any advice?" And I said, "Well, get involved with the New York State Bar Association, and
Absolutely.
we have a fantastic environmental law section, and this applies for any jurisdiction that you practice in, or any state that you're in. Every state has a bar association, and every bar association virtually has an environmental section. So go and kind of immerse yourself, and it may take you a year." And what I told this attorney was, "Hey, come with me, kind of ride my coattail, join my environmental justice committee. Let's co-author something. I'll start exposing you to other attorneys within the section." And I told her, I said, within a year, you're going to start standing out within the section. And it might take you a year, but you'll be able to then pivot. And if you have a year's worth of credentials and credibility within this group, it'll make for then the partners at those firms, or the government attorneys that are part of the section, they'll say, oh, this person, she keeps showing up to the meetings. I keep seeing her on email. She's co-authoring things with Jose. She's doing CLEs. Not only is she interested, but she's competent. And I think she's going to be on her way soon to being able to pivot into the profession. So I'm like very excited to see how this played. Yeah, it's almost like a case study in pivoting into this line of work, which if it does play out and she lands somewhere, not that I have no financial interest or vested in her, other than me just seeing someone else who wants to do this work.
We need more people to do this work, and it's an area that is, I think, expanding in terms of capacity of how many attorneys and different people could be working on it, and it's a great area to work in.
Yeah. So do you have any, we'll start wrapping it up because we've been gibbering for a half hour now, and I could probably talk to you all day. But do you have any final words of encouragement that people, for people who want to either enter, the environmental professions as a whole, not necessarily environmental law, or who've been working for one and want to, pivot into this line of work? Any kind of final words of encouragement for them?
Absolutely. It kind of ties into our previous question. There's never been a better time to get involved in this space. Humanity, the planet, need environmental professionals who want to make a difference and engage in this work. Don't be afraid to apply to that position. Talk to folks that you've never talked to before. Take the initiative. Get your foot in the door. I've been in the space for 3 years, and again, incredibly welcoming, wholesome people who do absolutely amazing and impactful work. Never be afraid to use your voice to advocate for yourself, others, or for a brighter future.
Man, that's William Kellermeyer. He's now also my motivational speaker. I'm sorry. I'm gonna call him up whenever I'm having a rough Tuesday. I'm just gonna hit him up and have.
You have my number.
Oh well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on. And my hope is that somebody who hears this chat that we've had today gets encouraged and gets a little bit of courage to jump in and join us in this really important work that we're doing. Frankly, trying to make this world a better place.
Absolutely. And I just want to include before we sign off that if there's anyone who's interested in this space, please feel free to contact me on whether it's socials, emails, pretty much in any form. I think that it's such an important area of work, and I always want to help out in any way that I can, whether it's new environmental attorneys looking to transition, or people who are generally interested in the space. So please feel free.
So the easiest way for people to get in touch with you would probably be LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitch, Twitter. I don't know are you on TikTok? What's the best?
No. LinkedIn would be great. My email is will.kellermeyer, KELLERMEYER @gmail.com. People can contact me there too, and generally find me wherever.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Well, have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. And
thank you so much, Jose.
Yeah, and I can't wait to speak with you again soon, brother.
Sounds good. Have a great Memorial Day weekend.
All right, you too, man.
Take care.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Green Collar Careers Podcast. If you enjoyed this and want more episodes, please subscribe to the channel and drop a like for the show in whatever podcast platform you prefer. Thank you, and have yourself a wonderful day.